Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to talk about the transpose of the data and also the pivot and unpivot of the data. So we are in our Power Query editor. Now, what exactly does the transpose of the data mean? So for that, what we will do is we can go in the transform option, and over here you can see I have this transpose option over here. So now how can I transpose my data and what exactly it is? So you can see that the data set I'm using right now is the average salary data set. In that data set, I'm having this departments and also the average salary. Now what if instead of these columns, I want to transpose this data and I want to see it this rows wise. So over here, I have to create only two rows and I want to create multiple columns. So basically what it would do is it would try to take all the data that is in columns and it would put it in the form of rows, and all the data that is in this rows, it will put it in the columns. So for that, what you can do is you have to go in this transpose option and click on it. And you can see it has now changed our data. Whatever data was in the column format, it has now come in the row based format, and it has made different columns out of it. Now also you can see right now it is showing me different columns and it is not able to identify these marketing, finance, IT and human resources as the particular column name. So for that, what I can do over here is I can go in this home option and I can use this for use first row as a header option. So I will click on it and it would then try to identify this first row as the header option. Now let's say that previously when we were seeing this department and the average salary, you also want to see that part over here. Now, why isn't that part coming over here? Because first it was trying to identify that department and average salary as the column name. Now it has removed that part. So if you would like to see that also, what you can do is you can just undo few options. To undo few options, what I'll do is I will go in this applied steps and I will just click on this delete option. And this would roll back the steps for me. Now you can see I'm having this department and average salary option again coming back. This time what I'll do is I will go in this use first row as a header, click on this down arrow, and I will use this use headers as first row. Now it would not try to identify this department and average salary as the particular header for this table. Now again, I will go in the transform option and I will use this transpose option. Now you can see again it has converted whatever data was in the columns in the row based format. And I have now got multiple columns with me. Now I want to use this marketing, finance, IT, and human resources as the column name. For that, again, I will go in the home option, and this time I'm using this use first row as the header option. Now you can see I've got this marketing, finance, IT, and human resources as the header. So to summarize, what this transpose will do is it would convert your rows as the columns and columns as the rows. And also if you hover over it, you can see that it is trying to tell you that it transposes this table, treating the rows as columns and columns as the rows. Now moving to the next topic, the pivot and unpivot of the data. So if I come over here in the sample company data, you can see right now I'm having this particular table. In this, I'm having the company, the month, and the basic sales that has been done by that company in that particular month. Now, what exactly is the pivot and unpivot of the data? So in Power BI, the pivot and unpivot refers to the operations used to reshape or transform your data within this Power Query editor. If we talk about pivoting, pivoting rotates the data from rows to columns. Now it is doing the same thing as the transpose of the data. It is also rotating the data from rows to columns. But what additionally it does is it summarizes and aggregates the data based on the selected criteria. So what am I talking about? So first what I'll do is I will come over here and I will use this pivot column option. So you can see I'm having this pivot column option. So I will click on it. Before that, you have to select the column based on which you want to pivot your data. So I want to pivot my data according to this month. So I will select this column and I will choose the pivot columns option. Now it is asking me what values do you want to see? So right now I'm having two additional columns with me. The first one is the company and the second one is the values. So what I want to do is I want to use the sales. So sales is in this values column. So I will choose this value column over here and I can click on OK. So before clicking on OK, you can also see that I'm having this advanced options over here. So if I click on this arrow and if I expand it, you can see right now it is asking me what kind of aggregation do you want to do. Do you want to do the count? Do you want to not count the blanks? Do you want to choose the minimum value, maximum value, median, or do you don't want to aggregate? So right now what I'll do is I will first choose this count all, and let's see what kind of values it is returning me. So I will come over here and click on OK. Now you can see that I was having the first column as the company. The second column was month, and there the months were repeating for every company. So if I had this company A, they were this month January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and till this December, I had all these months. And for each month, I had this sales value. So the sales value would be coming over here. Since the aggregation that I chose was just the counting, it is not showing me the values of the sales that it has done. So what I can do is I can again come over here in the pivoted columns option in the applied steps, and I can click on this gear symbol, and over here you can see that what were the values that you chose. So if I come over here in the advanced option, I can click on this aggregate value function, and I will choose this don't aggregate option, and I will click on OK. So it would start showing me the exact value of the sales that was previously over there. So now you can see I'm having this particular column for each of the month, and inside that I'm having the sales value. Now I can easily try to identify like what was the company's A sale in January, in February, in March, and how was the trend till December. So throughout the year, the sales data I can easily analyze. Previously, how it was. So basically, if I again just delete this applied step, so you can see previously we were having the data like this. So like let's say if someone is asking you what was the comparison of sales for company A in January and company B in January, so you have to come over here and see the sales value was 50,000 for company A and the sales value for company B was 60,000. So sometimes it is hard to compare if you are having this kind of data. So if you want to pivot your data, what you can do is first you can select the column through which you want to pivot. Click on the pivot column option. Then you have to go in this values column, choose the value through which you want to pivot. Then what kind of aggregation do you want to perform on the top of the value? So for that, I will go in this advanced options, and over here, right now I'm choosing don't aggregate option. Then I will click on OK. So then it would give you this kind of data. Now let's say if you imported your data and it is this kind of data, it is already pivoted. Now you want to unpivot it. So right now what was happening is that this pivoted step was in my applied steps. So I can easily roll back. But what if you are having the data like this only and you want to unpivot it, what would you do? So we are having another option of this unpivot columns over here. So if you click over here, I'm having this unpivot columns option. So for that, what you can do is you can select all the columns that you want to unpivot. So I can come over here till January. I will scroll ahead. I will come over here in December, press shift and click, and this would select all the columns for me from January till December. Then I can go in this unpivot columns option and it would unpivot the values for me. Now you can see it has made our data to the previous state where it was when I pivoted the data. So this is how you pivot and unpivot the columns and how it is different from this transpose of the data. So in transpose of the data, you can see it has converted rows in columns and columns in rows. Over here, it is also doing the same kind of thing, but it is also taking this repeating values in regards. So if I just transpose this data, how would it look like? So if I just go in the transpose data option and see how the transposing of the data would look like, so you can see it is again and again repeating these values. For company A, it is giving me the sales in January, in February, in March. And now when I see this data, it is too long. So I have to scroll a lot. And let's say if there were multiple companies over here and I had this huge data, so it would be very time consuming for me. And also it would be very difficult for me to view this kind of data. So for that purpose, what you can do is you can transpose your data when you are having this kind of data where you just want to convert your rows in columns format and columns in rows format. And when you are having this kind of data, so you can easily pivot and unpivot it. So this was all for this session. I hope you got to know what exactly is the transpose of data and what is the difference between the transpose, pivot, and unpivot of the data. Thank you.